How many?
Going home 5 pounds heavier is great.
Well, I say we jump into this. Gentleman's been waiting. Who wants to give a quick question? We'll talk about some other stuff. Sir.
We'll talk about barbecue later.
Yes.
Hi again, Elvira.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. When I met you yesterday, I mentioned that I have a Halloween tradition of watching your 1986 MTV broadcast from Salem, Massachusetts. And since this has kind of a special place for me, I was wondering if you had any fun behind-the-scenes stories to share about working with MTV and making that little broadcast kind of happen there.
Oh, sure. I did 2 specials for MTV back in the day when MTV was like, you know, the first music videos and all that. It was so crazy. The Elvira's in Salem thing was really funny. We took a that girl approach, where I was like in Salem throwing my vision out in the air. It was like Elvira's in Salem. And I was, the funniest thing was I was dressed up in my Elvira drag, and I was, had to go to a cemetery, and we filmed me skipping among the graves and then rolling on them. And there were some people in the town, you know, driving by that were, I don't know what they were. They were in a coma. They were like, I was laying on the graves.
And I've been to Salem before, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. I was there. My brother got married in Salem.
Oh, that's very
on Halloween, which I was expecting to see that. But it's actually beautiful. But the thing is, you get like this beautiful New Englander style of type of person there, but then you also get Halloween people there as well. So to see you doing that.
I've had a couple people say to me today that they got married in Salem. I should go and actually move to Salem and start being a minister.
I know a website you can check it out. Okay, so I'm sorry. You're on. You're splayed out. You're splayed out in the cemetery.
Actually, after a little while, the police came. But they were really friendly, and I gave them autographs, and we had an awesome time with them. And they pretended to arrest me and handcuff me and throw me in the police car, so that was fun. Anyway, but it was a really fun show to shoot. We did the $20,000 pentagram. That was one of our bits that we did at the Salem Museum, and it was sort of funny and silly. So if you catch that on YouTube anywhere, you might get a laugh. Thank you for asking.
Awesome, thank you.
Or good or bloopery that involves filming on or near a cemetery or a grave because of your alter ego.
Oh man, I started like working graves a long time ago. Even before it was Elvira, there's a movie poster. It's out somewhere. I've seen it in a few books of like movie posters where I was just hired to model laying on a grave in Hollywood Forever Cemetery. But when I was way before Elvira, and I'm in a negligee, and there's some guy there. I don't know what's going on, but I was looking through a book, and I go, oh my God, I'm on in front of this movie poster. I wish I could think of the name. Of course I can't. But probably from the 70s. That's really weird. I did a lot of movie posters back then, and I'll find myself quite often on book covers or movie posters for like mostly horror movies.
Yeah.
So, but what's the question? Oh yeah, but I always say I'm probably more than any actor in the world. I bet you I've spent more than any live person in the world. I've spent more time in coffins than anybody. I would be willing to like, you know.
So you could be a spokesperson for like apostropedic coffin.
Absolutely, any kind. I have quite a few friends also who work at like Rose Hill Cemetery and various cemeteries, but I spend a lot more time than I should in coffins.
Go ahead, Sam.
I'm sure everybody asks about Elvira, but growing up, Alan Quartermain and the Los Eagles was probably one of my all-time favorites as a kid, and I just want to know what your experience was working on that.
Wow, that was heavy. Alan Quartermain and Lost City of Gold was. I actually had this very large part in it. I was the villain, and starred Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone. It was her first feature film. It was a trip. We filmed it in Zimbabwe, Africa. So I was there for 3 months with them, and I had this major part. And then when the film got done, because it was a Canon film, they didn't pay their bills, so for the Zimbabwean government, and the film was confiscated. And they called me up and said, "Oh my God, the reels that you're in, the main reels that you're in, have been confiscated. We can't get them, and we have to reshoot your part back in LA." And it was during October, and I already was booked to do Not Scary Farm, which I did, and they couldn't. I couldn't reshoot the film, so I was just cut out of the whole thing. I'm in it like for 2 seconds. My name was psoriasis, which reminds me of some kind of skin disease. But it was a great experience being in Africa for 3 months and working with Richard Chamberlain, who's still one of my closest friends. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I was wondering if you've ever met Spenguli, or if he's ever asked you to work with him.
I have met Spenguli on many occasions, and yeah, we haven't been able to work together. Never kind of got that together, but always, of course, an idol of mine and one of the greats. Him and Zachary, I'd say, are two of my big inspirations. You guys, are you aware of Zachary? Yeah. So, you know, I mean, they're like the horror hosts of horror hosts, you know. So it was an honor meeting. I've been getting to know him, and yeah, we haven't been able to do anything together. I wish something would come up where we could all the horror hosts to do. I actually had this awesome picture of me with Joe Bob Briggs, Spenguli, Zachary, all of us in one photo, and I can't remember who else, but that was a real honor, and that was at the Hollywood, at the what do you call it, Magic Castle in Hollywood. Yeah, so.
Okay, yeah, I was more of like, if there was like bad blood, but you all get along.
No, awesome blood.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
It's funny. I don't know how many of you have ever done like horror films or whatever, but I've done dozens myself.
Have you? What, as an actor?
Yeah. Actor. I've done special effects. I've worked with Tom Savini. I know April Whalen. She's your.
Yes, of course. I
April's
love
a
April.
very good friend of mine. I've directed her before and stuff. Sorry, we're running.
April won Elvira. I had this television show, the Search for the Next Elvira, and April won.
Yeah, she was actually my the question in a Batgirl series that I did. Well, what I'm saying is, so those of you who have or have not worked in horror, it bonds the cast and crew working on these films or pictures or what have you so much. So I've rarely ever heard anybody coming out of even like a B or C listed film in a horror film, like if you're filming in somebody's grandmother's basement, come out and had bad blood between anybody. Working on horror films really bonds people for some reason.
I really only worked on one horror film. I mean, I wouldn't describe Mistress of the Dark and Haunted Hills really as horror, but on one horror film, and that was All About Evil, directed by my friend Peaches Christ. And it was very, we were, it was so, it was.
It's a really tight-knit, close
Yeah.
group. It was really
There was so
fun.
much blood. I mean, when you
Yeah,
say
yeah,
bad blood, I was
yeah.
thinking about just
Yeah.
blood, but
Blood sticks everybody together.
yeah, it does. So, yeah, literally and figuratively.
So when you say there's no bad blood between her and anybody else, it's
It's dried blood.
Yeah,
No
never
dried blood.
heard a bad story come out of like a horror film.
No,
It's sort of just
It's true. It was fun. We had a blast, and it was super low budget. So I think
Everybody's working
has to
crazy
stay up all night.
hours, and-
Nobody's gets paid very much.
the main actor's holding boom pole at one point.
Yeah, you're doing all kinds of things yourself.
Throwing blood at each other. Sorry. Go ahead, Ellen.
I was an inspiring performer, right? My main piece of advice is if you're really serious about performing, you really want to do, you might have to get yourself to somewhere like LA. You know, I mean, I tried doing it in different cities. I went to New York for a while and tried to do theater, and that was a big bust. Big bust. Oh, anyway, but in LA, I don't know. For me, that's where I got. And of course, taking lots and lots of classes of acting. I eventually got in the Groundlings Theater, which was really amazing. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Groundlings, but 1,000,001 comedians have come out of there, and a lot of people with characters, of course, like Paul Rubens, who plays Pee Wee Herman, and Phil Hartman, and and now Will Ferrell, and McCarthy. What's her name? She's so awesome. Jenny McCarthy. Yeah. No, not Jenny McCarthy. Melissa McCarthy. Thank you. How dare you say that? But anyway, so acting classes, and The biggest thing I can say, that the best advice is to just stick with it and don't give up if you're really serious about it. I was, like 30 years old, living in a crap apartment, driving a crappy car, really kind of starving, and from the time I was 20 until I was 30, all of my girlfriends kind of dropped off, married lawyers and married doctors, and moved away from LA, and I just kept hanging in there. I was just not going to give up. And it finally just happens if you hang in there long enough and do it, So it's really about persistence. That is my number one thing. Just keep at it.
Yeah, stay in
Yeah, eventually it'll happen, even if you get old. I have a friend who's, she got famous when she was 78 years old. Eve Smith, she was in my movie, Mistress of the Dark. She played my antivirus. She became a stand-up comedian when she was 72. She was my grandfather-in-law's girlfriend. And he goes, I like younger girls. He was in the 90s. And she became famous, got my movie, and started doing commercials when she was 78. So I hope you don't have to wait that long. But, she never gave up.
Yeah, honestly, just stick with it, because they say, from LA, 5 years it takes you to actually start getting somewhere after 5 years. No matter where you are, to build your connections, to build your establish yourself.
It's building and building and building.
And really what it comes down to, it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Yep.
Because when somebody who's doing a film goes, I need this woman who's absolutely beautiful and has this radiance about her. There's this girl, what's her name? Cassandra. Yeah, bring that girl Cassandra in. And she's amazing. That's what happens.
Yeah, I actually, that's a good point. I kept a little journal of my interviews I went on for about 10 years. And in the beginning, I was going on one interview every month, and by the time I got Elvira, I was going and getting how many I was getting versus the ones I didn't get. But by the time I got Elvira, I was going on about 20 interviews a week and getting about 15. I was just working, it was insane. So it started out like I had no interviews and got none of them when I went. So it's just about building it up, yeah.
And another thing that I really, really wanted to focus on, as I said,
I'm sure you do.
No, you know what I mean. No, what I'm saying, another thing is to have thick skin. When somebody turns you down for something, don't think it's you. It's not. I want you in your mind to cast the next Superman.
Oh, I've been told the worst things in interviews.
Everybody in the room just came up with a different idea of who they want as Superman. So what you have is for Superman may not be that. So that guy's out. Who you want isn't out. But when they cast that right person, you're going to be perfect. When Elvira was born, they found the perfect Elvira.
And I learned a lot by casting movies, by casting my 2 films that I did. But when I cast Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, I had in my mind as a writer and my other 2 co-writers, we had in our mind the person we wanted. So there were better actors, there were less, there were people who were great. But when that person walked in the room, they almost didn't have to say anything unless they were just the worst damn actor in the world. They just automatically were like, that's who we want.
Perfect.
I actually, a funny story about that is I have such great taste. I have such a good casting person that I turned down Brad Pitt, who auditioned for the part of the teenage boy. The teenage boy. I had a paper and you write notes on it. All I wrote was yum yum. Yeah, it turned out, and later when I met Brad, he actually bought my house that I owned. I said, Brad said, I tried to, get a part in your movie, and I go, I know. I turned you down. I said, Brad, you should thank me. You should be on the ground thanking me. I single-handedly saved your career. Yeah, the guy who played his part, Chris Cam, he was a great guy, did a great job. But whoever heard of Chris Cam anymore, So anyway, that's what you have to do. Boy, long story. We really got